Hi, this is Colette from the Sacred Rose Temple, and I am here to talk to you about the relationship with the masculine. Um, like all women who are on a spiritual path, the relationship we have with men is kind of really a big part of our healing. It's something that we have all got a story to share on, whether we're single, married, divorced, in a relationship, not in a relationship. We all have a story that we can share about our previous relationships with men and with the masculine. It has been a very important part of my healing journey, and I was always, wanting to find a deep relationship, a sacred container where I could grow with someone together, where we could, come together and grow towards God and grow as a soulful being. So it was very important for me to find the right person to do that with. And so this time in our collective when the masculine hold on the world is kind of strangling us and strangling femininity, we are all looking for a way to be more loving towards the masculine, more tender, because we realize the feminist movement and the acts against the masculine haven't got us anywhere as women. And to heal ourselves and the masculine, to heal, it takes a container of love. It takes love and understanding. And we are very different creatures, men and women, aren't we? And I think even knowing that as a woman, like how are men different? How do they operate in a different way? And it was something that I was not privy to, something I was not knowledgeable about. And so, on this healing journey of mine, I've really, really wanted to come into a deeper healing state as a woman with relation to a man. And we've all got our story, and I'm not going to share mine. But I knew when I stepped into womb work, when I worked in womb wisdom for many years, that the healing that was taking place in my womb was connected to the masculine. And I knew there was much work to do here. This work for me involved working with looking at the relationship I had with my father and the kind of conceptions and preconceptions I had about men and how men should behave, and also looking deeply at my own patterns of my masculine way of being, a feminine in revolt against the masculine that was detrimental to the way I related with men. And so the course I've written is basically a deep chasm of healing space that really gets you to look deeply at the things that affect you in relationship with men. And I wrote the course called The Blue Rose, Healing Your Relationship with the Masculine, to kind of catalog and put together all the healing modalities, all the healing things that you can do to try to obtain a better relationship with men, or to deepen your relationship in the current relationship that you're in. We all have the patterns, the same patternings. If you look over your relationship with men in the past, you can see the patterns that you got into. You should be able to identify the type of men that you attracted and the same problems that kept coming up in those relationships. And they're the kind of things we're going to address in this forum, where practices will be given every day to excavate these things in you, to try to find out what your patterns are. And those patterns magnetically connect to the patterns of certain types of men. And that's, this container is not to blame the masculine. It's completely not. I feel that's a really powerless thing for a woman to do, but the power is to take back where we allowed certain behaviors and where we displayed behaviors that attracted negative behaviors, and take that power back and say, this isn't the relationships I get involved in, but these are the wounded patterns that allowed me to put up with that, or to be part of that, you know, disconnected and always, grating against each other kind of relationship, which is not a relationship. It's a It's a space that's showing you that healing needs to take place in you, and more boundaries are needed, and more love is needed to be brought in. So we'll be looking in that. We're also going to be really taking a big look at the wounds that we have, that we've gathered from our own mother. You know, our relationship with our mother is very significant. And if we observe the mother, then we have been observing her relate. And that's where we get a lot of our ideas about relationships, and a lot of those deeply embedded subconscious behaviors are from our mother. And that is regardless of whether you have a good relationship or not. You would be surprised. I mean, me particularly rebelled against relationship in that way with my own mother and father. And I was my mother in the ways I was behaving, just indirectly and in a different way. So, looking at the mother and the father too, how did the father treat your mother? How did you see men treat women? And what have you, again, subconsciously, not, this is not conscious, but subconsciously began to believe is the way that men should operate with women and with you, more importantly? We will also be going into past relationships. So we'll be bringing those past relationships up to kind of analyze them, and to analyze them in feeling and emotion. What were the things that were disastrous? What were the things that were playing out in that relationship that we couldn't see when we were in it, but that we might be able to see now because we are um, in a distance from it and in a reflective mode about it, not in the pain, not in the emotion. And maybe there's some debris that needs to come up emotionally. So the container will hold that too. There will also be a deep dive. This has been something very potent that's come up in my rose groups, and that is the energy of the maiden and the mother and the crone within us as women, and how they play out. So I'm going to give you an example. We had a woman in one container who kept meeting men who were not committing, and these men were genuinely, kind of fun guys who were wanting to date her but not relate with her and get into deeper relations. She was meeting men who were married, meeting men who were also taken or in relationship. And so this was a real place for her to go deep into herself, to find out why she was attracting that behavior. And the maiden energy that's in us will attract bachelor energy. So, bachelor energy is the carefree, footloose man. And this man is in his kind of like prime of dating and having fun. And we're not going to like say that that's negative, because that's every man's right, as it is a woman's right to have fun and date and not be committed. But if you're wanting commitment, then bachelor energy is not good for you looking for your man. So the way that we looked at that is to find the maiden that was still playing out in her, that had the magnetic draw that was bringing in these bachelors. And the deeper we go into that, the more that opens up, and you can see that sometimes your own behavior or the persona or the image that you give out brings in those types of guys. And don't forget, this container is purely about relating. That's what it's about. So we're going to be dissecting all our behaviors to see how that has impact on our relationship with men. And that isn't just with men that we relate with sexually, but our fathers and men around us, our sons, our brothers, people that are in our lives that are men. We will then be looking at the mother energy and what the mother means in us, and what that attracts, and any distortions in the mother, any woundings in the mother that comes from our own mothers, or in the way that we see the mother, maybe in a derogatory way. And then looking at the crone and how the crone is important to us all, those who are entering crone stage and those who need to learn from the crone. So this has a massive impact on relationships, and all of this will be deeply dissected and gone into each week. We have a different theme that I've just discussed each week that we go into and you start to explore. The final week will be inviting and invoking the new masculine, and what that looks like, and how we look for that, search for that, find that in our lives. And if we're already in relationship, how we encourage the new masculinity to emerge in our man, and how we support and hold that. So This container is going to be 7 weeks of deep, deep work, and work that will only have a positive impact on the way that you relate with men. And it's much needed. In the spiritual world, there's been a kind of deflection from, you know, you work on you, you love you, it's most important. And that's true. But, every woman longs, we long for a deep connection, a deep hold in a relationship. And to be in a relationship, if we're on a soul journey, that where the other man is also working on himself, so we can be met in our soul work and have someone to bounce those healings off and work with to heal, because the deepest healing happens in relationship, if you know what you're doing with it and you know how to handle that in relationship. So it's super important. I also feel in this time in our collective that, women are taking much more ownership over their behavior. There's a lot less blame on the masculine. And we're all looking and rooting for a way in which we can work together with men and support each other to heal and be in a more loving container and in more respect and knowledge of each other's behaviors, expectancies, wants, and just the different biology that our bodies hold, and understanding that. So, this will all be covered in the next 7 weeks. So, if you are looking for a deep change in your relationship, or you're looking for a relationship, then this course is really beneficial. I always say to everyone, it doesn't matter what it is you work on. If you give it the intention and the energy and the time and the space, and you have the tools to know what to do with it, deep change can happen in your life. We can go on forever saying that our relationship with men is not good, or that we keep getting in the same traps. But unless we do something about that, unless we really put that under a microscope, then it's very unlikely to change, because if you don't heal it, it won't change. It will always stay the same. So I'm looking forward to working with the women that are already in the container, and those of you that are just on the sideline thinking, is this for me? Isn't this for me? I hope this has answered some questions, and I really hope to see you in the container. We start tomorrow night with a live call with me that leads us into the first healing, which is with how our father, or the male figure in our life, or lack of, affected our relationship status and our relationships in the past. So take care of yourselves on this special 11/11 day. I hope that you all use that time to drop into a deep space. I will be going into mine straight after this video. So take care, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye for now.